and gentlemen, and welcome inside the gymnasium here at Milford High School, as Milford TV is once again happy to bring you coverage of Scarlet Hawks athletics. Tonight, the boys basketball team welcomes in another Kelly Rex opponent. It has been Hockomock League crossover heavy in the early portion of the schedule, and tonight's opponent is the Taunton Tigers. Milford comes into the matchup at 1-2 overall on the season, 0-2 within their league play so far. And the Taunton Tigers coming in at 2-0 on the season. Milford, a very rough start to this 2017-2018 season after all the hype coming into last week's opening round of play in the Hockomock League. Milford with back-to-back losses. When we last saw them here on the home gym, it was in their home opener against the King Philip Warriors, a game that Milford, talking to Coach Seaver after the game, admitted the team really gave that game away in the end. It ended up being a 53-47 loss for Milford after they led right from the opening tip until about 3 minutes to play in the fourth quarter. King Philip able to knock down some critical shots late in the game, and Milford with a lot of free throw shooting woes, in particular in the second half of that game, that ended up being the difference in a loss in their opener to this regular season campaign. And Milford followed that up with a very difficult road loss to the Franklin Panthers, 55-36. Franklin sprinting out to an early lead in the first quarter in that game, and Milford was just never able to catch up. So two quick losses out of the chute, but the Scarlet Hawks were able to right the ship in their most recent contest. They took on a non-conference rival in Hopedale on Sunday afternoon. That was a makeup game in what should have been Milford's season debut a couple of weeks ago, but playing it this past Sunday, and a very impressive effort from the offense. That offense waking up in a big way to the tune of 79 points scored in a 79-59 romp over the Hopedale Blue Raiders. And once again, it was Brendan White leading the way offensively in that game. Brendan White really has been a revelation early on in this season, scoring a career high in points in that victory against the Raiders. It ended up being 27 points in total on the night for Brendan White. Joey Everett also chipping in a big way with 16 points in that victory against Hopedale. So finally getting Milford out of that early season losing streak. They hope now to climb back to 500 overall on the season as they welcome in this opponent tonight, the Taunton Tigers. And Taunton has been very good out of the gates. This is a younger roster, a lot of turnover for this team last year. They saw a lot of freshmen and sophomores log a lot of minutes last season, and that ended up being valuable experience for Taunton. And they've turned it up a notch as this 27-18 season has gotten underway. A 64-62 narrow victory over Sharon back on December 12th. They followed that up with a 70-plus point performance themselves on December 15th. A 72-51 victory over North Attleboro. So this is an offense that can put up points in a hurry. In 2 games so far on the season, averaging 68 points per game and allowing just 56.5 points per game. This is a team with a lot of speed, and their head coach Charlie Dacey talking before the season saying they really want to harness that speed and use it as their advantage. One of the more athletic teams in the Hockomock League, so it should be a good matchup. Also another intriguing size matchup down low, as we will watch Caden Kelly operate against the 6'4" forward Tyler Medeiros throughout the evening. So a lot of good matchups. An entertaining matchup typically between these two teams, a matchup that Taunton has gotten the better of in the last 3 regular season meetings. So Milford will look to put a stop to that tonight. It is the Milford Scarlet Hawks taking on the Taunton Tigers. We will have the opening tip in just moments, so stay tuned to our coverage here of Milford High School athletics on Milford TV. And welcome right back inside the Milford gym, ladies and gentlemen. Time to get this game underway. The Milford Scarlet Hawks, the Taunton Tigers on this Tuesday evening. A very interesting boys basketball matchup, and before we get this game started, I'm very happy to welcome back my broadcast partner for tonight's game. On break from his junior year at Syracuse University, Anthony Mazzini on the broadcast tonight. Anthony, welcome back to our Milford TV coverage.
Well, Tim, thank you for giving me all these opportunities. It's really very much appreciated. And, you know, what a game to come back to. Milford versus Taunton. These two teams always play competitively against each other. And just looking at these two teams, Milford picking up their first win on Sunday at Hopedale, so a good win to get that first one out of the way. And as for Taunton, they're 2-0 to start the year, and they lead the Hockomock League in points. So these are two teams that, yeah, Milford is only 1-2, but they got the first win out of the way. They played very well. Taunton has started off the season very well, so both teams riding high coming into this one.
It should be an interesting pace right out of the chute. These are two teams that like to play fast, have some speedy players on both sides, as now Caden Kelly and Lenz Esquill, two senior captains, lining up for the opening tip, and Taunton will control it as boys basketball coverage is once again underway here on Milford TV. Tim Coet and Anthony Mazzini happy to be with you and happy to be once again streaming this game live, so welcome into all of our live viewers on this Tuesday evening. A rowdy crowd as usual here in Milford as Taunton can't find the lane into the basket, taking it back outside, now cutting baseline. And a lot of speed shown early as Milford is able to make the block inside.
One thing you can clearly tell right off the bat is Milford is amped to play this game. They have the crowd behind them, and you can see it right there. A couple of key defensive shifts prevented Dante Law from driving baseline, kicked it back out, and then it was blocked eventually on the inside. Good defense already for Milford.
A couple of young players to watch for this Taunton team throughout the night is the sophomore Dante Law and also the freshman Diamond Blakely. So two underclassmen that have been heavy contributors so far on this young season. Taunton to inbound with the shot clock winding down, and they will not get a shot away. So Milford's defense, which drew high praise over the weekend from their head coach Paul Seaver, not allowing the Tigers a shot on that opening possession.
That was just poor awareness that time by Vendrell, however, though. They got the inbounds pass off. He had time to get a shot, but just decided to be a little too slow with it.
Now Brendan White with the ball in his hands after a 27-point afternoon on Sunday against Hopedale. Now Kelly out on the perimeter before dishing back to White. They find Kosket cutting towards the basket. The ball deflected back out to Tomorrow. His shot offline, and the rebound collected by Taunton as flying up the floor is Lou Vendrell. And the point's in for the visitors.
He had a career high 18 against Sharon, took a step back last game against North Attleboro, only 8, but he gets on the board early here.
A lot of pressure by this defense. Joey Everett gets a clean look from three-point range and drills it.
Joey Everett, a welcome addition to this Milford squad, transferring out from outside of Milford, and he's putting up points early.
Taunton trying to counter with a three-point attempt by Dante Law, and you know the results just listening to the Milford crowd. They'll test Everett again from three-point range. This time it rims out, but Caden Kelly pulls down his first offensive rebound of the night. Gets a soft feedback from Kosket. Now they'll try Everett from three-point range on the far wing, and the ball will bounce up back over the backboard, and possession will go to Taunton.
Everett getting a little bit over-anxious that time. He hit the first one, a little bit of confidence, but wasn't able to knock down the next two. He's got to tame himself.
It's been a concerted effort on these early possessions to get Everett going after that double-digit point performance against Hopedale on Sunday, wanting to follow that up as now he tries to guard inside against that size of Dante Law, but Law will get the bucket. So the lead swinging back and forth in these early minutes, still 5:48 to play. It has been a quick pace, just as we anticipated, as now they'll feed Everett inside, off-balance shot, in and out. So the last 3 trips up the floor have all been attempts by Everett. And Taunton now with the turnover.
Yeah, they're really trying to get Everett involved. I mean, hey, why not? He scored 16 against Hopedale last week, or I should say Sunday, just a few days ago, but Brendan White was also involved in that action. Milford has a bunch of scorers to turn to. I think they should try to get some scoring versatility here.
Shane Kosket, this is our first chance to see the senior captain out on the floor here at home after he missed the opener due to injury, but as we talked about at the time, not expected to be a major factor, and he was right back out there on Friday night last week in Franklin, and now fully healthy and fully ready to go. Tomorrow inbounding with 16 seconds left on the shot clock, just over 5 minutes remaining in the opening quarter as Kosket able to initially get around his man. The ball deflects out of play. Still Milford ball, but only 8 seconds left on the shot clock now. Kick it all the way out to Everett, whose pass is blocked. Now here's Caden Kelly, goes to the court. Shot clock winding down. Everett puts up the shot, does not hit anything, and it'll be a shot clock violation now on the Milford side.
And Everett coming up a little bit gimpy after that one. Looks to be holding either his hand or his midsection somewhere, so that's something to keep an eye on.
Back in the hands of Law, who kicks it outside to Lenz Esquivel, one of 2 senior captains. Now it's Vendrell, loses the handle on the way inside. Now Milford goes up for the block, but draws the whistle.
A double block that time, I think, between Everett and Tomorrow down low. So Milford doing a good job closing out on the baseline.
Vendrell slowing the pace just for a moment. Again, trying to feed Law underneath the basket. And now White will take it the length of the floor, up and in for 2.
And there's that pace for Milford that we were talking about. Both teams like to play a little bit fast, and we saw it there with the transition bucket.
So 5-4 Milford lead with just over 4 minutes now to play in the first quarter. Another 3-point attempt fails to land for the Tigers, and now White slips ahead of the defense, and he goes on a quick personal 4-0 run, and that will draw the first time out of the night as Milford takes a 7-4 lead with 4:04 to go. This is a Taunton team, Anthony, as we came into the game. We expected them to want to play fast, but right now it seems like that speed is working more in Milford's favor.
Well, we just saw Lou Vendrell actually try to slow the pace down for Taunton, so something that Coach Charlie Dacey wants to incorporate into his team's game. His starting point guard, or at least one of his starting backcourt mates, is doing the complete opposite thing. And you're right, Tim. For Milford, they're getting the ball in there, go, go, go. Brendan White just streaking up this near sideline, and Milford just getting the transition points right now. So it almost seems like Taunton is taking away their best asset of the game, and Milford is just forcing Taunton to slow down. And Milford is taking a page out of the Tigers playbook and doing the exact same thing. It's just a little bit of a taste of their own medicine.
Seems like a lot of the offensive woes for Milford in those first 2 games really were largely based on momentum, based on comfort, based on confidence. There was not a lot of confident shooting going on in those first 2 games. They were able to turn the page over the weekend, and so far this has been a much more confident-looking offense through these early minutes.
And you have to wonder, Tim, too, if Taunton is slowed down by Milford in this game, if that affects their performance overall. Can they play a slow game? They lead the Hockomock League in points scored per game. Can this Taunton team still put up points if they're slowed down?
Good passing up the floor, but it does not yield points as the shot is offline for the senior Malik Charles. Milford basketball as they get it into Kosket. Kosket pressured in the backcourt, gets it away to Tomorrow. And finally the lob pass ahead to Andrew Frioli, who checks into the game for the first time off the bench. But Milford turning it over as Dante Law takes it up the floor. Kosket stays with him and eventually deflects the pass out of play over the Milford bench.
And Taunton still doesn't look overly fast. That looked like a situation there after the turnover that Taunton would normally try to push the ball up the floor, and they're still struggling to get it up in a quick manner.
Still 26 seconds on the shot clock as they swing the ball around to Diamond Blakely, the freshman, the only freshman on this varsity roster for Taunton. He will toss it up from long range off the back of the rim, and the rebound kicks out to Kosket. Moving up the floor, gets the pass poked away, but it goes right to White, who takes it to the basket and gets fouled.
Brendan White, a good job that time, just going right into the heart of the Taunton defense and drawing the foul. So he looks for points 5 and 6 on the evening.
And a little bit of heated discussion afterwards between Kosket and Andrew Frioli as the two try to get on the same page.
But you have to imagine, Tim, that that's just a situation of Shane Cosquet isn't your typical point guard that just takes over a team with no playing experience whatsoever. This is a guy that last year that played alongside Arcudi, Tamani, Davila. He had a key role pretty much throughout the entire season, whereas Fraioli, he transferred. He started off at Milford High School, but then transferred and now transferred back. So it's probably just a situation of Cosquet just telling a guy that hasn't had much experience with the program what to do. And it's still early on in the year. They're working the kinks out.
2 misses at the line for Brendan White, so those free throw shooting woes look to be continuing at least on the first Milford attempts of the night, but the good news is the defense is still strong, forcing another turnover. White thought about the 3. They feed it into Fraioli, eventually into the hands of Kelly. Gets a couple of attempts, but eventually Taunton's able to grab the defensive board. Kelly scoreless so far in this first quarter with a little over 2.5 minutes left to go. Good move initially inside for Malik Charles before Milford commits the foul. It looks like they'll call it on Zach tomorrow.
And I like the job that Blakely has done for Taunton so far since Vendrell went to the bench. Blakely's been handling most of the point guard duties. He'll split those point guard duties, according to Coach Dacey, with Prince Brown, who we've yet to see, but Blakely's done a good job getting his teammates involved.
Scoreboard frozen at 7-4. Free throw misses on both sides. One more attempt coming up now for Malik Charles, along with Len Esquill, the 2 senior captains. And 2 misses as Milford collects the rebound. More pressure in the backcourt put on by Naz Kenyon. Joey DeMarco, the Milford senior captain, checks in off the bench. Dangerous lob pass makes its way into the hands of Caden Kelly. Now DeMarco around the perimeter. Fraioli, good pass. Right into DeMarco, has an easy lane to the basket.
Good little set play that time for Milford. A little twirl around the outside, and DeMarco just getting a wide open layup off it.
Ups the Milford lead to 9-4 with less than 2 minutes to play in the first quarter. DeMarco putting on some pressure at midcourt. John Martin's calling out the play as now he swings it into the near corner. No look pass to Dante Law. They kick it outside. Milford stays with the play. Now another no look pass, this time into the hands of Malik Charles, who again cannot finish at the rim. And the whistle stops the clock with 92 seconds left in the first.
Well, even though that offensive possession didn't end in a bucket for Taunton, I really liked the ball movement. No player was selfish. No player forced a shot. They swung the ball around the perimeter, got it inside, kicked it back out, then a drive, kicked it right back outside. Even though there wasn't points, I think that was still a good possession overall by Taunton.
They've set up a couple of really good looks inside for Malik Charles in this first quarter. He's had bad luck around the rim, but if they keep getting those looks, they will convert as the night goes along. Here's Cosquet now. Stops in his tracks, sends the pass to Fraioli. Milford around the perimeter. Now they get it into Kelly. And now Fraioli will shoot the 3 offline. Mixing it up down low for the rebound was Brendan White, but here's Taunton now on the break. Fraioli able to get back defensively. And Milford called for the foul. They'll call it on Brendan White. Taunton goes back to the line now. And finally, we see a make. Naz Kenyon shooting the free throws for the Tigers. Taunton able to hold on to the basketball after the second missed free throw. Cosquet animated once again, this time with Joey Everett as he received that pass. Now Cosquet will shoot it from 3. Looked like he was going to get a good bounce, but not the case. Another Milford miss, and now Taunton up the floor with 25 seconds left in this first half. About a 2-second difference between shot clock and game clock. Law will take it out of the near corner. Milford crowd staying loud. They'll find the pass inside for Lenz Esquivel, but Milford is able to intercept. And then the foul stops the clock with 5.3 seconds to go.
It's a good foul by Taunton, not risking an opportunity for Cosquet and Milford to just get in transition, get an easy layup right before the end of the quarter. So a strategic foul that time for the Tigers.
Called the foul on the captain, Lenz Esquivel. So Brendan White feeds it into Cosquet. Final 2 seconds. Will Milford get a shot away? It's White who takes it, and it's offline, the deep three, as time expires here in the first quarter. So a breakneck pace to this opening 8 minutes, but Milford able to come away with an early 9-5 lead. So an entertaining first 8 minutes. We'll pause very briefly, and we'll have the start of the second quarter for you when we come back next. Milford up on Taunton 9-5 here on coverage of boys basketball on Milford TV. 4 of Milford's 9 first quarter points came from the junior captain, Brendan White, who inbounds the basketball to start off the second quarter here. Boys basketball, Milford versus Taunton, the fourth game on this regular season schedule for the Scarlet Hawks, coming in at 1-2. And Joey Everett will get another early look here in the second quarter. Misses from three-point range, so I believe 1 for 5 early on from long range is the senior transfer student, Joey Everett. A pass to nowhere on the other side of the floor. Taunton a little off on their communication, and that allows Milford to take over here in the opening minute of the second quarter. Long three unleashed by Zach Tomorrow, but it kicks off the back of the rim. Tomorrow hasn't been able to quite get it going yet in this first half. And now driving inside, trying to get the bank off the glass was Esquivel, but no good. Taunton gets it back, and now the offensive foul is committed by the 6'4" senior Tyler Medeiros as he lost his footing underneath the basket.
It's almost like he put a truck stick on that time, did Medeiros. And he doesn't play football, he plays baseball in the spring, but he could be trying out for football tryouts, but obviously he's a senior, that's impossible, but didn't look like a basketball play that time for Medeiros.
Milford trying to get their personnel situated on the court before the inbounds pass. Actually a little bit of conversation between the official and it looked like Brendan White.
Yeah, the number 4s were getting into a little scuffle there, Martins and White.
Good intensity out on the court between these two teams so far. Here's Everett double teamed right at midcourt. And Coach Seaver looks like we'll call for the timeout. That stops the clock with 6:56 to go in the first half. And interesting, Anthony had a chance to have a very quick conversation with a couple of now Milford High alums in Zach Tamani and Anthony Arcudi before the game when last you saw this high school team. Those two guys were the two leading scorers. It's a much different looking team this season. How difficult is that early on in the season to get into the groove of the offense with such a different look to it without such big pieces that you had the year before?
Well, it's very different, and especially when you didn't have your leading point guard, Shane Cosquet, for that first game. That was probably especially important. You come back in and at least you have some stability at the point guard position, and when he wasn't there and it looks like he's still settling in a little bit, it's obviously tough. And anytime you lose your top 3 scorers from last year in Arcudi, Tamani, and Davila, that's going to be very tough to overcome. But Milford, I think so far, yeah, they're 1-2, but I think they're playing good basketball. Honestly, Tim, this feels like a game from 5-6 years ago with Coach Manguso, and they had those teams that went to the district tournament every year. This feels like one of those games. It has a great atmosphere, and I think that's a testament to the job Coach Paul Seaver has done on the sidelines.
Coach Seaver has already said he feels like this is by far the best defensive team he's had a chance to coach so far. And if the offense can catch up to what the defense is doing, this is going to be a very dangerous bunch. Shane Cosquet offline on a 3. And Taunton able to scoop up the defensive rebound.
It's not any easier for Taunton, though. They also lost their top scorer, Tommy McLean, from last year, and that's 13 points gone from their side too. So both teams lost some scoring.
Outstanding play on the defensive side for Cosquet. Was able to get the steal and keep the ball from going out of bounds. Milford able to maintain possession. And now here's Caden Kelly, looks to back down inside, instead kicks it back out. Ends up in the hands of White, who misses the three, so Milford has gone cold with their outside shooting, but they create another turnover. Here's Everett the other way and cannot finish at the rim. And now going coast to coast is the Tigers, and they will get the foul as Naz Kenyon went to the basket.
Everett a little bit out of control on the other end of the floor for Milford. And one thing I'm not liking out of the Milford shooters so far, I've seen it a couple times from Everett, I've seen it from Cosquet, even Brendan White. They shoot and then they start backing away. They start running away. They keep their hand up. It's almost like they think they made it, kind of Steph Curry-esque. But most of them haven't gone in. I haven't seen one go in since Joey Everett's first shot attempt of the game. So I think for Milford, they need to start attacking the glass a little more. Caden Kelly can't do it all down low. Yes, he's going to come close to a double-double almost every single night. He led the league in rebounding last year, but the Milford shooters, after they shoot, they got to attack the glass.
Two more misses at the free throw line. Both teams have struggled with their free throws so far. Joey Everett once again looked to be a little banged up after that last miss. And right now taking a spot on the bench. As we see another whistle underneath the Taunton basket, and we will see more free throw attempts.
And I don't know about that call. I usually try not to question the officials, but see, I could see the foul going on. I think it was Caden Kelly down low with the body, but Shane Cosquet got all ball from behind there, and the foul is going to go on Shane, so I'm not sure about that call from the officials.
Naz Kenyon, meanwhile, is 1 for 5 from the line so far in this first half, and meanwhile, back to the point on Joey Everett. I do not see Everett on the bench right now, so I'm not sure if maybe he's getting attended to by the Milford training staff. He was doubled over in front of head coach Paul Seaver during those last free throws. 2 more misses from Kenyon. And here is Brendan White. He can't get any luck at the rim, and it stays just a 9-5 score now with less than 5.5 minutes to go in the half. Taunton tries it from three-point range, and it's not close. And right now, things are getting ugly offensively, Anthony.
Yeah, really for both teams. There's just no rhythm on either side as Sutherland's going to get one down low, and maybe that'll get Milford back on track. But really, especially for Taunton, there's just no offensive rhythm. They're not playing fast. You know, even right now, Vendrell slowing it down, and now Law. It's just, there's no offensive rhythm.
Clean look from the free throw line for Malik Charles. 11-7 now the score. As Shane Cosquet commits the turnover at midcourt, Coach Seaver can't believe it. He wants an explanation.
Yeah, again, I don't see much there. Cosquet with a behind-the-back dribble. I think he did get away with a little bit of a push-off earlier in this quarter, but I didn't see one there. I think the officials are kind of getting the vibe that this game could be one that gets out of control. Both teams playing with a lot of intensity. The Milford crowd has been in on Milford's side all game. They just want to keep this game in their hands.
They push it back outside. A good look for Lou Vendrell, but he can't land the long-range shot. But Taunton able to maintain possession, keeping that ball from going out of play on the sidelines, and end up with 2 more points. I believe that was Diamond Blakely, the freshman, who collected the bucket. And it's just a 2-point margin now. As Coach Seaver will again go to the bench. Joey DeMarco back out onto the floor with Zach Tamaro heading to the bench.
And back to your point from earlier, Tim, it does not look like Joey Everett is in any rush to get back in this game. He did go back to the locker room with John, the trainer for Milford. So I don't know what his status is over there on the bench, but he doesn't appear in any rush.
Another awkward-looking shot by Milford. DeMarco was initially able to track down the rebound, but couldn't secure it. The ball ends up out of play. Yeah, just moments ago, Joey Everett reemerging from the locker room. Looks to be icing his right hip area. was very ginger, just taking a seat on the bench, so it'll be interesting to see if he makes his way back into this game. And meanwhile, Milford will send Matt Nickerson out onto the floor, but Milford will turn it over, and it's an easy bucket the other way for Kenyon. And that forces a timeout as Taunton has come back to tie this game at 11-all. It continues to be a low-scoring affair, but all tied up between Milford and Taunton as we will take the timeout. Again, 3 minutes and 40 seconds to go before halftime as you enjoy this coverage of Milford High School athletics on Milford TV. Both of these teams scoring 70-plus points in their most recent games, but the offenses have struggled here in the first half, 11 points apiece, as we tick down to 3.5 minutes to play in this first half, and Nickerson off the bench able to grab his first bucket of the night. Milford going bench heavy here right now with Nickerson, DeMarco, and Sutherland out there on the floor along with White and Kelly. Taunton takes it out of the near corner. Dante Law had time to set the feet, but could not find the stroke from three-point range. Now Brendan White able to get out of the trap as Nickerson advances into the front court. Nickerson showing good moves, now calling for White out onto the perimeter. White, with 16 seconds left on the shot clock, back to Nickerson, thought about the three. Now Kelly in trouble as the shot clock winds down. DeMarco's going to have to put up the shot. Instead, Taunton forces the steal. Good quick hands by Malik Charles and a frustrating trip up the floor for the Scarlet Hawks. But able to fight for it back. Nickerson now mixing it up. And the officials call for the jump ball. The possession arrow will keep it in Taunton's favor, but good effort so far off the bench from Nickerson.
And you have to imagine he's going to get more playing time as this second quarter, I should say, winds down. Shane Cosquet on the bench with 2 fouls. You have to wonder how liberal Coach Paul Seaver is going to be with his star point guard, whether he's going to bring him back in. I guess it's situation dependent.
And another quick foul for the Scarlet Hawks. A lot of fouls in the game here a week ago against the Warriors. Milford's 6th team foul of the first half, as Diamond Blakely knocks down his first free throw attempt. It's just the second made free throw of the half, and ultimately Blakely able to put in them both. 3 for 10 in this first half shooting free throws, but Taunton able to come through with another quick steal. With the game tied at 13, Taunton looking to take the lead, trying to get a little bit too cute with that pass to Malik Charles, and Milford able to pick it off, and Nickerson more nice work with the behind-the-back dribble, but then loses it as he sends the pass to Brendan White. The Taunton bench erupts as Taunton slams it home, but the foul is called.
Dante Law, that was offense and defense. Let's rewind a little bit back to that play along the sidelines earlier. Not only did he intercept it, but then he had the presence of mind to throw a behind-the-back pass to one of his teammates. Taunton wasn't able to get any points, but then here again, on the defensive end, intercepting a ball that was headed towards the Taunton bench and then slamming it down. And talk about an athlete. Dante Law is just one of the best in the entire Hockomock League.
So they did count the basket, the free throw no good, and Brendan White able to get an answer for Milford on the other side. Now 6 points in the first half for White, and we are once again tied now at 15 all. And the bucket now for Malik Charles after he got Milford to bite on the up fake. And now the steal, and 2 rapid-fire buckets for the captain, Malik Charles, and that opens up a 19-15 lead for the Taunton Tigers, and all of a sudden Milford starting to look a little frustrated out on the court.
And it's noteworthy, too, that Coach Seaver decide to go back with Shane Cosquet, so Coach Seaver probably felt the game getting away from Milford a little bit, and we see it here, 19-15 now, Milford down by 4, so Cosquet checking back into this ballgame. He just has to be careful with his 2 fouls.
And as Milford tried to get the inbounds pass in, I do believe the foul was committed by John Martins on the Taunton side. This will send Shane Cosquet to the line. Cosquet missed 2 free throws earlier in the half. And you can make it 0 for 3 from the line in the first half. Those are the only free throws Milford has taken so far in the game, as this ball is tipped loose. Taunton gathers it in, courtesy of Diamond Blakely. They'll continue to ride the hot hand with Malik Charles, and this time he misses. Milford down by 4 as just barely Fraioli's able to save that ball from going out of play. Now swings the pass the opposite end of the court for DeMarco. They'll call for the jump ball, and this time possession arrow goes Milford's way.
Milford just looks out of control right now. They're trying to force a little bit too much. The offense just is sloppy. The passes aren't crisp. Milford has to get back to what they do, start getting some of those set plays. We saw it earlier with DeMarco, a nice curl on the outside, set up an easy layup.
Here's Kelly. He'll go up against 2 defenders. He gets fouled, and he will head to the free throw line. Trying to bring Milford closer with just 42.9 seconds left in a fast-moving half. It's going to be getting difficult for Coach Seaver to watch on this young season, hoping that the free throw shooting will improve, but it has been a consistent problem here through these first 3 games.
I don't know if he has been watching. He's been pacing the sideline every free throw.
So Milford now 0 for 5 from the line through this first half, with now 35 seconds to go until the break. Milford trails it by 4. Don feeding it inside to Lenz Esquivel. And they'll call the foul on Brendan White. White looks as surprised as anyone to get the news.
There was a block up top, but I think it was the body down low. The officials, I think, definitely got that one right. It looked, you know, a lot of fans and coaches and players will only see the block because that's what they want to go on the stat sheet, but they won't realize that their other hand was either pushing the lower back or that their knee was shoved into the knees of the offensive players. So I think that was a good call that time by the officials.
Dante Law at the line. He misses a shot. Dante Law 1 for 3 shooting free throws in this first half. You can make it an even 5-point lead for the Tigers. The shot clock will be turned off now as Milford has an opportunity to play for the final shot of this first half. Cosquet takes it ahead, almost runs into Dante Law. Gets a nifty pass away to Brendan White. Now here's Kelly, passes up the jump shot. Now it's White who will take it off the side of the rim. A nice rebound by Zach Tamaro. He puts it back. 2 seconds to go. Taunton heaves it up a little bit early. It's well short, and that will conclude the first half. Taunton maybe with an opportunity to take a couple of dribbles before they unleash that shot. But nonetheless, Zach Tamaro able to get his first points at the half to bring it back down to within a 1-possession game. So 20-17, Taunton will take the lead into the half. And so Anthony, again, quick pace on both sides, and really you put it well there just a few moments ago, out of control at times on both sides. So these teams trying to find a way to settle things down, but keep that athletic sort of feel to the game when they come back out for the second half.
Yeah, and I think Taunton really exploded in that last 2 or 3 minutes or so, especially after that Dante Law dunk. But this is a Taunton team that didn't look very fast at the beginning of the game, especially through that first quarter, even through the first 3 or so minutes of the second quarter. But then that Law dunk really woke them up. They started to play fast. Malik Charles at the end of that second quarter got a couple of easy points off turnovers from Milford. And on the Milford side, it was just a situation of the Hawks just not being able to get into any sort of rhythm. You have to imagine that Shane Cosquet's 2 fouls put them in a little bit of a hole. Also, Joey Everett leaving the game with what appears to be a hip or a hand injury. Some not exactly sure what, but he did go to the locker room, got checked out. by the Milford training staff. So you have to imagine a combination of fouls and injuries plagued Milford in that half. But there was a lot of frustration too, especially once Taunton started to climb back into the game, because this is a Taunton team that likes to play fast, and Milford was slowing them down. They were cutting off the baselines. They were intercepting passes, and then Taunton started to speed the game up again, and Milford had no idea what to do. So on each side, it needs to be cleaned up a lot. But Taunton is going into the locker room with a 3-point lead, and they should be happy with that because they trailed for most of the first half.
Ended up outscoring Milford 15-8 in that second quarter, and as a result, they hold on to a slim 20-17 lead at the break. We will pause as Earl the Pearl Wilson entertains the fans with his half-court shots. We will be back with the start of the third quarter when we come back next. Again, you are enjoying coverage of Milford High School boys basketball here on Milford TV. Once more from the Milford gym, it is Tim Coet and Anthony Mazzini bringing you coverage of Milford High School boys basketball here on Milford TV. It is the Tigers with a 20-17 lead as we get set for the start of the third quarter. Again, not a particularly high-scoring opening half of play between these two teams. Right now, your points leader on the Milford side is Brendan White with 6 points. On the Taunton side, 6 points for Malik Charles paces the Tigers' offensive attack. And it will be Taunton who will send the inbounds pass in. The talented sophomore Dante Law leaves it behind for Diamond Blakely, the freshman. The two underclassmen showcasing their skills throughout the first half. And good news for the Scarlet Hawks, meanwhile, as we do see Joey Everett make a return to the floor to start off the second half, immediately mixing it up on the defensive side. Fresh shot clock for the Tigers. The floater in towards the rim out of the hand of Blakely is no good. Milford finally collects the defensive rebound. Milford with their original starting 5 out there on the floor to start the second half. Tomorrow, who got the final points of the first half, takes Milford's first shot of this third quarter but misses. Now Taunton losing the dribble. Cosquet reaching in, trying to finish off the steal, but Taunton preserves the possession. 60 seconds gone in this third quarter as now Law will put it up from 3-point range, and it's perfect.
He has the ability to shoot from distance, and Milford just respecting the drive a little bit that time, but Law can shoot.
An excellent passing up the floor. Taunton selling out for the steal, but Everett able to handle it and getting the pass away to a wide open Caden Kelly, who collects just his first bucket of the night. And then meanwhile, Taunton flies in for the putback. I believe that was Malik Charles adding on to his point total. And now the ball loose on the floor. Both teams diving for it, but Taunton hauls it in. More wild play up and down the court, as this time Law can't knock it down from 3-point range. Here's Cosquet quickly out on the break. Taunton putting pressure on from behind, knocking the ball out of play. It will stay with Milford.
There's just no communication right now for Milford. Just sloppy. It's either bad offense on Milford's part or really good defense on Taunton's part, because this is just Taunton's forcing turnovers at will.
Brendan White too short on the open look from 3-point range, and immediately Taunton pushes the tempo back up the floor. Malik Charles, short jump shot, no problem. And quickly Malik Charles enters into double digits on the score sheet early on in this third quarter. Taunton pushing the lead to 27-19 as White carries it inside, still can't finish at the rim. Charles gets the rebound, and Diamond Blakely now with the no-look pass to Law in the corner, takes a couple of dribbles inside, no good on the shot, and Kelly pulls down the rebound. Sloppy passing again for the Scarlet Hawks as they commit yet another turnover. And a wild trip to the basket for Lou Vendrell. Could not land the off-balance shot. Here's Cosquet, flies around Dante Law and puts it in.
Nifty play that time from Cosquet. Law was set to take the charge, but unfortunately for Taunton, there were no layers in that defense. Law was the only one back, and once Cosquet did the Euro step right around Law, it was just an easy layup, and Coach Seaver taking a quick timeout, probably I mean, he can't teach his guys to make shots or get back on defense or force turnovers or limit turnovers during a game, but maybe a good talking to here can kind of get Milford riled up a little bit.
You could see immediately the body language from Coach Seaver out of the half, very frustrated with the effort that he was seeing out on the floor, perhaps just a lack of focus, as you mentioned, Anthony, as Taunton was able to grab a lot of points in succession there. Milford able to get a couple back to narrow it back down to a 6-point margin with 5:05 to go, but still, this is a team right now that it's really been sink or swim through this game so far. There have been stretches where the offense has looked very good, but also stretches where we've seen just very undisciplined play out of the Scarlet Hawks.
You would look at this Tigers team and think that this team is known for its defense, but it's actually the opposite. This is a team that is known for its offense, 68 points a game. Now, it doesn't look like either team is going to get close to their season averages in this one, but this is a Taunton team that prides itself on offense, but it's really on the defensive end that they're making their money in this one.
And meanwhile, an extra cheer rising up from the student section as Cam Falcon checks into the game for the first time. And Lou Vendrell quiets the crowd as he puts in the layup to improve the Taunton lead to 29-21. As we tick down to 4.5 minutes to play, Zach Tamaro can't handle the pass into the corner. Brendan White trying to scoop up the loose ball at midcourt, but Taunton stays with it. Another good pass from the Tigers, but Vendrell can't finish from the corner, and now Milford locks up for the jump ball. Malik Charles having to evacuate the scene as things once again started to get heated on the court. Possession arrow is going Taunton's way.
It's good awareness that time by Charles, recognizing that he's been one of the most important players for the Tigers in this game, just walking away from that potential scuffle right now, not wanting to take any momentum away from his team.
So I beg your pardon, the possession arrow was with Milford. It was a quick switch on the scoreboard. So Milford maintains possession here, down 29-21, as Cosquet now looks to draw the foul. And Cosquet maybe a little shaken up after some hard contact.
Coach Seaver getting the whole bench involved. And Falcon checked into the ball game a few minutes ago, electing not to go with a Joey DeMarco in this situation for his backup guard.
Meanwhile, nice to see Milford knock down a free throw. It's their first make of this game after going 0 for 5 from the line in the first half. Taunton not a whole lot better, going just 4 for 13 in the first 2 quarters. Cosquet only able to make the one. It's a 7-point deficit for Milford. Taunton with the basketball as we come down to the 4-minute mark in the third period. Dante Law brings Blakely out on the perimeter. Now it's Vendrell who looks to get more involved in the offense. Vendrell battling against Steve Sutherland coming in off the bench. And Vendrell gets a friendly bounce off the front of the rim to collect his second bucket of this third quarter. Sutherland quickly the other way, the fadeaway jumper, and he gets the bank off the glass.
Sutherland got away with a travel that time, but he's not going to complain, and neither is Milford, getting 2 points on the board.
Hard charge to the basket for Blakely. And Milford will get called for the foul, and another foul on the junior captain, Brendan White, who pleads his case to the official after the fact. The foul starting to mount for Brendan White. As Blakely misses his first free throw attempt. Misses both. Sutherland couldn't track down the rebound initially. Milford continues to battle out towards midcourt, and it will be Milford ball.
Falcon doing a good job along the near sideline over here to keep that possession with Milford.
31-24, the crowd trying to prompt a surge here for the sluggish Milford offense. Tamaro pestered in the corner. His pass gets knocked away. It's been very active hands contesting every single pass all night long, these Taunton Tigers. And Joey Everett, who you can see is still not 100%, trying to flex out that right hip as he goes to the scorer's table, waiting to check back into the game.
One thing that's impressed me about Dante Law for Taunton is, an example is right there on that play. He's obviously probably the best scorer on this Taunton team, averaging 19 points a game through the first 2 coming in. But he's getting his other teammates involved. That was the situation there where he was streaking right down the middle. He had a chance to go one-on-one with Zach Tomorrow. Instead, passed it off to Vendrell and getting his teammates involved. That's really what defines a top player on a team.
Turnovers really starting to mount for Milford, as Law can't knock it in, but there to clean up the glass is Lenz Esquivel. That's his first points of the game. And now swatting the ball away is Naz Kenyon. Kosket gets back defensively and rejects the ball out of play. Slams his fist up against the wall afterwards, as this is a Milford team that feels like they are teetering right on the edge right now.
Well, that block by Kosket really just covers up and temporarily blinds everyone from the fact that Milford is just turning the ball over at a very alarming rate.
Taunton didn't like the look from long range, but now they're able to kick it out to the corner. John Martins misfires. Here's Kosket. Kosket trying to assert himself a little bit more into this third quarter. And meanwhile, Cam Falcon ends up taking the initial shot, no good. But Milford able to put in the second chance effort as they cut it back down to a 9-point deficit. Joey Everett with the defensive rebound as Milford gets a rare stop. Here's Falcon, who will unleash it again from long range. Now knocks the ball loose, but Taunton recovers. Start and a stop. No good on the shot for Esquivel. And then Taunton commits the foul.
And that's just a rookie mistake that time, or I should say a young mistake. Dante Law is a sophomore for this Tigers team. That's just a young mistake that time, going over the back of a Milford player, trying to get that rebound, being aggressive, but he has to contain himself.
Caden Kelly, after a stay on the bench, back out onto the floor. Milford still playing with Cam Falcon and Steve Sutherland out there. Brendan White, a couple of chances underneath the basket. Here's Sutherland. And all of a sudden, Steve Sutherland has himself 6 points in this third quarter.
Sutherland's putting together quality minutes right now for this Hawks team.
Taunton lead down to 7 as Milford tries to continue to narrow the gap as we come down to the final minute of the third quarter. No look pass caught Lenz Esquivel by surprise, kicks it back outside as Milford does their best, the student section I should say, to make their presence felt. Taunton not biting on the misdirection, but they can't land the shot. Now here's Sutherland. And another whistle going against the Scarlet Hawks and Brendan White.
That'll be White's third foul, so with only about a quarter left, he still has 2 before he's gonna be disqualified for the rest of the game, but something to keep an eye on as we move forward.
35-28 as Taunton loses the handle. White finds it. Here's Kosket, has one man to beat and gets it to bounce home. Cuts it to a 5-point deficit with 18 seconds left. Taunton to play for the final shot here in the third.
And they need a bucket here. I'd say go to Law along the baseline.
And they find instead Naz Kenyon, point blank range. 5 seconds left for Milford as they try to push it ahead to Kelly. Bad idea. And now here's Taunton as time expires. Too late. The shot does not land anyway, but that will bring a close to the third quarter. Taunton able to tick that lead back up to 7 points, 37-30. wild play continues here into the second half. We'll pause for a moment to catch our breath. We'll have 8 minutes left to play. The fourth quarter begins next here on our coverage of Milford High School athletics on Milford TV. Coach Seaver about as animated as you will see him talking to his team in between quarters, hoping to see some more consistent play out of his group as they come back out for the fourth quarter. Tim Coet and Anthony Mazzini here bringing you the coverage of Milford High School boys basketball on Milford TV. Milford enters into this fourth quarter trailing 37-30. And Taunton immediately feeds it into their sophomore star, and Dante Law will get the scoring started here in the fourth as Cosquet. Now he's shaken up a little bit as he was able to sneak away from that double team along the far sideline. Taunton whistled for the foul.
Looks to be grabbing his calf area is Cosquet. So again, the injuries are piling up for Milford. The turnovers are piling up. These last 8 minutes are going to be crucial for the Scarlet Hawks.
Cosquet some fancy dribbling, but Cam Falcon can't handle the pass on the other end.
And another turnover for Milford, Tim.
We don't have the exact turnover figures, and that's probably for the best for these Scarlet Hawks players. That is a number they're going to want to quickly put in the rearview mirror after this game. Dante Law again after some good passing. So they will count it and the chance for the three-point play.
And I have a feeling Dante Law is going to start taking over this game. He kind of took a back seat through most of the early portions of this game, and it was Malik Charles who was the beneficiary of that. But now Law up into double figures, and he's scored the last few buckets for Taunton. And he has a chance to extend the lead here, but free throw shooting is not a strength for either side, apparently.
13 points for the sophomore, Dante Law. As Milford loses control yet again, the ball ends up out of play. And Milford, I believe, will hold on to it. That play spilling over into the Milford cheerleaders lined along this near sideline. As Brendan White in some foul trouble here late in the game, sends the inbounds pass in the direction of Cosquet, but again, active hands as usual for the Tigers, and it yields another Milford turnover.
You know, Tim, I've been very, very impressed with Diamond Blakely. His composure leading this Taunton team. Not a very experienced Taunton team, only 4 seniors, and Blakely, he's only a freshman. And he has controlled the tempo for this Taunton team. He's been active on the defensive end, as we see with another steal, but he's been very impressive.
And Anthony, something we really haven't even talked about so far in this game is the lack of presence of Caden Kelly. He's been almost a non-factor virtually for Milford tonight, only 2 points. We haven't even talked about his name all that often in terms of his defensive play in the game. So Taunton has found a good recipe to really neutralize Milford's biggest threat.
No, it seemed like last year that he was in our mouth all the time. He was blocking shots or deflecting a pass or getting a rebound or cleaning up his own miss and finishing at the other end, and he's just been a non-factor. It seemed like in that third quarter we barely mentioned his name at all, and it was because he was on the bench.
Here he's able to pull down the defensive rebound.
A lot of Milford players struggling in this one, and Caden Kelly is one of them.
Coming off of a 79-point performance just a couple of days ago, but that must feel like an awful long time ago right now for the Scarlet Hawks team as they continue to go bench heavy. Danny Corsini goes up for the layup but can't finish. And now Shane Cosquet pressures defensively. Taunton called for the travel. And so a very interesting lineup right now. Brendan White along with Brendan Saylor, Danny Corsini, Steve Sutherland, and Caden Kelly.
Well, Tim, it's not to say that some Milford players are are better than others, but when you're down by 11 points in the fourth quarter, this is not a lineup that I personally would have expected Coach Seaver to be going with. Granted, there is some foul trouble. There is a little bit of injury on the Milford side, but the fact that Coach Seaver is pretty much emptying the bench in this ball game when there's still a chance to win, considering Taunton hasn't blown away with it yet, this is a very surprising lineup choice.
Brendan White guarded very closely by Naz Kenyon. No good on the shot. Here's Corsini trying to save it. Ends up getting it into Sutherland, who's now in a scrum on the floor. Brendan White dives in at the end. They will call for the jump ball. White came in hard there late and might have face planted a bit on the court.
Yeah, it's like he was diving into second base that time. I'm not sure if that was completely necessary. It looks like Sutherland had it tied up.
Brendan White never afraid to mix it up on the floor. Possession does stay with the Scarlet Hawks. The Sailor will toss it back into play. Trying to find a partner and ends up sending it to his head coach, who turns his back momentarily in frustration.
I think the fact that that one went directly to Coach Seaver is just an even bigger, I don't know, insult, I guess, is probably not the right word, but even more of an emphasis. And with the fact that he just rolled the ball right back into play was just kind of a indication that this has not been Milford's night.
Sutherland, good hands on the front end of the play to come up with the steal. It's hard to tell if Milford's been telegraphing their passes a little bit here in this game, but it just seems like every time they go to pass the ball, Taunton knows where it's going beforehand, and they're able to cut it off at the pass. Milford emerges from the pile with possession. Corsini and Sutherland continue to work, and Sutherland eventually gets fouled.
Well, Tim, to your point, one of the things I mentioned before we even came on air was the size that Taunton had. They were very tall and lanky, and I said that this is something that Milford might struggle with, and it seems like Taunton has just been in the passing lanes all night. And when you have that length and that size combined with the speed that Taunton has up and down the roster, it's just a recipe for disaster, not only on offense, but also on defense. Maybe there is some reading of where the ball is going to go for Milford, but a lot of it, I think, is just pure natural athletic and basketball ability on behalf of the Tigers.
Sutherland 1 for 2 on that trip to the line. An even 10-point lead for the Tigers with a little over 5 minutes left to play in this basketball game. Milford continues to be bench heavy as Dante Law able to get around Steve Sutherland for the bucket. 6 points in this fourth quarter so far for Law, as the pass from Brendan White is deflected. It ends up in the hands of Sutherland, who knocks down a three. And if there's one player that is certainly a bright spot in the eyes of his head coach right now, it absolutely has to be Steve Sutherland, who now has 9 points in this second half and has played some valuable minutes here. Good defense, and he's been able to knock down some key shots to keep Milford within striking distance with 4:50 to go.
Yeah, he's carving himself a nice little spot here on this Milford roster. He's played here and there over the first couple games, but this is really a breakout performance from Sutherland, now up to 10 points in this ball game. And I actually had the privilege of coaching Steve when he was a little bit younger, in the 7th, 8th grade range, and I always could tell he was going to be a special player. He always had good size. He had a good feel for the game. He could shoot the ball very well. He could put it on the floor and get to the basket through the lane, but he had a little knee injury that set him back a little bit. But I think now in his junior year, he's finally starting to come around, putting all the pieces together. He played a little bit on the varsity team under Coach Paul Seaver last season, very sparingly, but he did get a little bit of experience last season. So Steve Sutherland, he's a good piece. I don't think he's necessarily a starter on this team with some of the talent that Milford has, but he's a good piece, that sixth man, that punch, that scoring punch off the bench. He has some things defensively he needs to work on. He just got boxed out by Law, which led to an easy layup on the other end, but Steve Sutherland has played very well in this game, and as you mentioned, keeping Milford in the game.
And it should not be understated that not only has Sutherland contributed offensively, he is your leading scorer for Milford in this game.
And I don't think either of us would have expected that coming into this game, especially after Brendan White just dropped 27 against Hopedale on Sunday.
Vendrell briefly faking the shot attempt. Now gets it back, hesitates, drives inside, takes it to the hoop, and goes around Caden Kelly for 2 more points.
These guards are very, very impressive for Taunton between Vendrell and Blakely. And we haven't even seen Prince Brown in this game, who plays a big factor for Taunton as well. There must be an injury on that side, so the future is bright for the Tigers.
They feed it right back into Sutherland this time. Sees his shot hit off the back of the rim. And Taunton, who has all kinds of confidence right now. Vendrell trying for that nifty reverse lay-in. That time it didn't fall. Here's Tomorrow from 3 over everything. Sutherland can't put it back here. Saylor fighting for the rebound. Sends it over the head of Brendan White. It kicks out of play, and White caught by his athletic trainer, Jonathan Raskow, behind the scorer's table. And good effort on the offensive end from Milford, but again, just the execution not there.
Milford trying to go down low to Sutherland. Really, I think forcing it a little bit right now. He is the hot hand, but just because someone's putting up points in a hurry doesn't mean you just keep going to him over and over again.
Blakely shooting it out to Vendrell. Brendan White can't contain him. And a couple of attempts under the basket for Taunton. And Saylor can't handle the ball cleanly, got trapped briefly, now able to take it up the court. And Brendan Saylor gets fouled.
The pace right now would benefit Taunton, you have to imagine, especially with Cosquet on the bench for Milford. No one really for this Milford lineup able to push the ball up the floor as well as he could. So this pace, especially, we came into the game knowing that Charlie Dacey liked to have his team push the ball up the floor. They had the depth and they had the length and the speed to do it. And you have to imagine this pace right now for the last 3 minutes would benefit the Tigers.
Cosquet looks like he's about to check back into the game. As Saylor can't convert on the free throw, an all too familiar refrain at this point for the Scarlet Hawks. We also see Joey Everett back out on the floor, who has been battling through injury. He has looked very uncomfortable more often than not in this game, but yet continues to go out there and give the team whatever he has.
Looks like a situation where Coach Seaver is just trying to get 2 minutes out of him and then give him a break for a couple minutes.
Cosquet now back out there. Everett long pass finds Brendan White, and White finally knocks down a 3 for the Scarlet Hawks. It is just the second three-pointer, the third three-pointer of this game for Milford. And for Brendan White, that's his first points in the second half. And Milford trying to bring the energy level back up for this final push, under 2.5 minutes left.
This game isn't out of reach for Milford yet. They can put together a couple quick stops and a few baskets.
2 seconds left. Law has to put it up. It's offline.
Well, there's your stop. Now it's only an 8-point ball game. Milford doesn't have to shoot the 3 ball right away. There's still plenty of time, over 2 minutes left. They can still run their offense. I'd like to see a set play for Milford. I haven't seen one. The Taunton defense has been a good job forcing Milford into turnovers. I think a set offensive play for Milford would do well.
Here's White. Underhand pass, and Milford's able to get the bucket. Taunton the other way, can't land it. Jumping up for the rebound was Esquivel. And the whistle stops the clock with just a tick under 2 minutes left. Milford, for the moment, cutting it down to a 2-possession game.
And it looks like that's the 4th foul on Brendan White.
And we'll see timeout called. Can Milford get just a little bit of doubt creeping into the minds of Taunton, who has played aggressively and confidently throughout the second half? Milford as close as they've been since halftime. It was a 20-17 lead for Taunton at the half, up to a 37-30 lead at the end of the third quarter. And Milford now pulling to within a 45-39 margin with 1 minute and 59 seconds left to go. We'll take a quick break. Down the home stretch will come right after this here on Milford TV. Milford retakes the court with Cosquet, White, Kelly, Everett and Steve Sutherland continuing to log minutes for this team down the stretch. Hoping for a stop as Lou Vendrell was able to blow past Caden Kelly, now feeding the ball outside to Dante Law as Taunton tries to work this clock down. 12 seconds now left on the shot clock as Vendrell makes a move around Everett. The ball left behind, but Diamond Blakely able to scoop it up, trying to move around Kelly. Hard contact by Caden, no whistle as the shot clock winds down. The shot no good. Brendan White comes away with the defensive rebound. 1:22 to go as White tries to take it all the way to the basket. As two players go down for Milford, both Kelly and White slow to get up. A big numbers advantage up the court for Taunton as finally Milford gets back in numbers. Still a 6-point Taunton lead as Milford now commits the foul, stopping the clock with 1:06 left.
I don't know if Milford necessarily needs to foul just quite yet, but, granted, the Tigers have struggled from the line. Both teams really have, but Taunton has shot it a little bit better in this second half. But still over a minute left, only a 2-possession ball game. I think Milford can force a couple of stops here. I don't know if they need to foul, but I guess it all depends on how Blakely shoots these free throws.
Good on his first. Much fewer attempts in this second half for Taunton. They're now 3 of 6 in the second half. They can make it 3 of 7. Here's Brendan White from three-point range. A crucial shot knocked down by the junior. It's his second 3 of this fourth quarter. And the lead down to 4 with 54.8 seconds left as timeout is called on the floor. Student section still fully engaged. And so once again, Anthony, Milford not in a situation where they need to foul, but they need to come away with stops and perhaps a quick turnover here as they come out of the break.
Milford has to set up their press very quickly. They get the benefit of Coach Seaver calling the timeout, and they can set it up. They need to go for a trap. By the way Taunton's been running their press break, they've gone to the corners right away, which means whoever is guarding the person who gets the ball right away, that the person guarding the inbounds passer then needs to shuffle over very quickly. If Milford can get a trap within the first 5 seconds or so, I think they have a chance. But if Taunton's able to cross the midcourt line, now you might have to start playing the foul game, especially with the shot clock at 30 seconds. If Taunton runs this all the way down, now you're looking at only 24 seconds. It's still a 2-possession game. For Milford, you have to imagine if they're able to come back and get a win in this ball game, it's one that they stole. If Taunton loses this game, it's one that they lost.
Law, a quick lob inbounds pass finds its way into the hands of Lenz Esquivel. It goes out of play, and it will be Milford basketball.
There was the trap. Kelly was there. He got off his inbounding duties and went right to the person with the ball.
Now Milford able to get it into the hands of Kelly. Out for Cosquet from three-point range, in and out. And Taunton able to secure the rebound with Dante Law. A good look for Cosquet, looked about halfway down and then rimmed out. Bad luck for Milford.
And that's the situation there. I'm not sure if Milford necessarily needed to foul right there. You had Everett guarding the ball on Law with White coming over. You actually were going to have a 3-on-1 in that situation. Law was going to be trapped in the corner. You were either going to force Dacey to take a timeout or Taunton to turn it over.
Milford ratcheting up the decibel level here in the gym as Dante Law misses the free throw. 38 seconds left. They feed it ahead to Sutherland. Now kicks it back out to Cosquet. Milford doing a lot of passing here as Taunton commits the foul.
It's a good job by Sutherland along the far wing over there, not shooting an unnecessary three-point shot. He didn't have his feet set. He didn't get a good grip on the ball. Milford swung it all the way back around. Luckily, it didn't take more than about 10 seconds. And now this stoppage of play is going to benefit Milford. They can try to score points while the clock isn't running.
And we'll see a timeout called before we see the biggest free throws of the night. Free throws, we've talked about them ad nauseum here in our first two broadcasts of Milford boys basketball. Milford has made just 2 free throws all night here tonight. But if they make these 2 here to cut it down to a 2-possession game, the memory of those early misses will quickly be erased with 31.9 seconds to go and an opportunity for Milford to cut it down to just a 2-point deficit.
And it's going to be Brendan White at the line, and he's been the hottest player for Milford. Steve Sutherland would be the other one, but in these last 2 minutes or so, it's really been Brendan White. Sutherland got them going at the end of the third, into the fourth quarter, and it's been White since then. So luckily for Milford, it's going to be one of their hottest players at the line. Again, Brendan White, 27 points, a career high against Hopedale on Sunday for Milford's first win, and he's trying to stage a comeback here for Milford against Taunton, which would tie their record up at 2-2. And as for Taunton, I think you just got to get the ball into the hands of your guards, Vendrell and Blakely. They've been controlling the pace all game long, and they've been the best players on the court.
Brendan White's knocked down the biggest shots of this fourth quarter, a pair of 3-pointers to keep Milford in it. And is able to connect on the first free throw attempt. That makes it a 1-possession game. And Milford hoping to cut it down to a 2-point margin. And White able to connect on them both. And Everett able to briefly get his hands on the inbounds pass, couldn't control it as it deflects out of play. What a moment that would have been if Everett could have maintained the handle, but still you're starting to feel the momentum for what really feels like the first time all night, Anthony, shifting into the Scarlet Hawks' favor.
Yeah, Everett really took a risk that time, and it paid off. If he wasn't able to get a hand on that, it was an open layup for Taunton, but that's just the confidence. You hit on it right there. The momentum shifting, the confidence is starting to come back for Milford. Everett realized he had an opportunity and went for it. Just barely missed the steal, but this is a Milford team. Hopefully it's not coming a little bit too late for Milford. Still 31 seconds left. And we all know in basketball, these last 30 seconds can go upwards of 20, 25 minutes. You never know. But this is a Milford team that's turned it around in this fourth quarter. And like I said a few minutes ago, if Taunton isn't able to end up winning this game, considering the turnovers they forced, considering how active they've been on the defensive end, this would feel like a lost cause for Taunton. So I just said it a few minutes ago, you got to get the ball into the hands of your guards. Blakely and Vendrell, they've been controlling the tempo. They're your best ball handlers. And for Milford, you got to do what they did earlier. You got to get a trap in one of the corners. There's still plenty of time left in this game.
Taunton to inbound from the far sideline. Caden Kelly defending that inbounds pass. They get it into Vendrell, and the clean pass ahead to Dante Law, who stuffs it in for 2 big points for the Tigers. 23 seconds left as Brendan White takes it to the basket and gets it.
Milford, you got a foul right now. The clock's still running. There it is.
Everett commits the foul on Vendrell. So the exchange of buckets, Dante Law, as the Tigers broke the Milford press, had an easy bucket. Brendan White had the answer, so it's still a 2-point game with 13.5 seconds left, and now pressure free throws come up for Lou Vendrell, the junior. And the student section erupts once more for the Scarlet Hawks, trying to bring their support. And off the back of the rim, Joey Everett picks it up. 10 seconds left. Cosquet up the floor, takes it to the basket, and gets it to bounce through to tie the game at 48 with 3.7 seconds left. Milford comes all the way back to tie it as timeout is called.
Well, Tim, that free throw, not only was it huge that Blakely wasn't able to knock it down, but as far as strategy for Milford, you don't hear strategy a lot on free throws, but 9 times out of 10, your guard is not lined up on the outside of the paint while someone's shooting a free throw. But I think that was by design for Coach Paul Seaver. Instead of having Cosquet all the way back near Milford's hoop, they instead had Brendan White. Shane Cosquet was there, so if there were a miss, it's just a quick grab and go for Milford. There was nobody for Taunton lined up in the paint after that free throw. Caden Kelly got the rebound, handed it right off to Cosquet, and Milford just went all the way to the basket. Great coaching that time from head coach Paul Seaver. Just get the ball and go. very strategic move, and that could be the reinvention of the free throw strategy, I guess. But great job on the Milford coaching staff's behalf.
This has been a gritty fourth quarter for the Scarlet Hawks, and really all the way around. Milford digging deep from the coaching staff on down to the players on the court. And now a little bit of business left here with 3.7 seconds left as Taunton will inbound, hoping for a game-winning shot. Milford needing to stay strong defensively here. They put it into the hands of Vendrell. 1.5 left. The three-point shot for the ball game rims out. And an entertaining night of basketball will not end just yet. Four quarters cannot contain the action here in the Milford gym tonight, as we will see overtime between the Milford Scarlet Hawks and the Taunton Tigers, tied at 48. And we will see the overtime period play out when we come back next on this coverage of Scarlet Hawks athletics on Milford TV. Quite a night here in the Milford Gymnasium. Milford 48, Taunton 48. Shane Cosquet with a pivotal bucket in the closing seconds to bring Milford all the way back in an improbable comeback. And now we will see overtime play out here, and a Milford crowd that has not used their seats at all here tonight, despite at times this game looking bleak. They continue to rise here as overtime begins, and Joey Everett could not settle down that opening tip. Taunton will take it up the floor to start.
It's interesting to note Coach Seaver electing not to go with Brendan White to start this overtime period.
White with a lot of fouls on his resume through the first four quarters as Caden Kelly plucks down an early turnover here in the overtime. Last time the Scarlet Hawks team saw overtime, it was part of that memorable comeback effort against Marlborough in the playoffs last year. Caden Kelly owned that overtime, defeating the Marlborough Panthers. We'll see if Caden Kelly plays a role here against Taunton. Shot clock winding down. Joey DeMarco will put it up too strong. An opportunity for Cosquet to put it back, but he could not grab any iron.
Overtime always seems to be the period when the star players start to emerge. You have to imagine for Taunton, that would be a player like Dante Law. He's up to about 16 points in this game. And for Milford, you have to imagine it's the guy that just checked in, Brendan White. You also see Sutherland coming back in. He was crucial in that second half as well.
Fans cheering for defense with 2:55 left to go in the OT. Diamond Blakely, the ball handler, shoots it to Esquivel now down into the corner. And Taunton called for the travel. Malik Charles, who had a big run for the Tigers in the second quarter, called for the traveling violation. Still looking for our first bucket of the OT. And now Brendan White, after a tough feed from Cosquet, gets locked up for the jump ball.
Good attempt that time from Cosquet, trying to thread a pass down low. It was knocked away. It's been the story of the night so far for Taunton, just getting in the passing lanes, but an even better job by Brendan White diving on the floor and saving a possession for Milford.
18 seconds left on the shot clock, 2:33 left in OT. Lob pass outside to Joey Everett. And now the pass looking for Cosquet got tipped away by Taunton, out of play. Once again, it will stay with Milford with now 15 seconds left on the shot clock.
I was ready for that one too, Tim.
Coming dangerously close to our broadcast setup. Cosquet coming out of the backcourt. 10 seconds left on the shot clock as the ball again gets poked loose. So still active hands defensively for Taunton. Dante Law dangerous outside, feeds it to Vendrell, who gets his shot blocked on the way up. Now Cosquet trying to stay in control of the basketball as he's guarded closely by Lenz Esquivel. Now the ball loose at midcourt. Diving for it was Kelly. And it ends up in the hands of the Taunton head coach, Charlie Dacey. And still no points yet in the overtime.
Kelly doing a good job hustling and getting on the floor. It wouldn't have much mattered. It would have been a backcourt violation either way. But Milford prevented, or I should say stopped their turnover habits in that fourth quarter, and now not a bad omen here. They're starting to come back a little bit.
Law guarded by Shane Kosket, and Brendan White with the do-or-die play to try to come up with the steal. Instead, he gets the foul. And I believe that is the night for the junior captain, Brendan White.
Yeah, Coach Seaver is going to have a decision to make now.
An unfortunate way for the night to end for the junior. He was so crucial in the comeback effort for Milford. He had a total of 10 points in that fourth quarter, including a couple of key three-point buckets and arguably the biggest shots of that fourth quarter, 2 converted free throws late to cut it down to a one-possession game. And you can see the emotion right now pouring out of Brendan White and also pouring out of his teammates as they congratulate him at the bench.
And it's going to be Cam Falcon who comes in to replace him. He took a couple threes when he was in the game earlier in that second half, and he missed both of them, but his shot looked pretty good, so maybe this is a guy Coach Seaver hoping for a little bit of offense coming off the bench. And Taunton still can't make a free throw.
It's Diamond Blakely at the line and misses both shots. Steve Sutherland controls the rebound, and it stays 48-48 with just over a minute and a half left to go in overtime, and it's Cam Falcon who comes through with the first bucket in OT to give Milford the lead.
Finally, a set play out of the Scarlet Hawks, and it pays off. A good screen set out top. The Falcon wide open for a wing three and nails it.
The fans absolutely love it. And a good pass threaded in down low to Dante Law. That cuts the Milford lead to 1, as now Diamond Blakely is called for the foul. This has been some kind of atmosphere here in the Milford gym tonight. One of the things that I've talked to Coach Seaver about many times, when Coach Seaver took over as head coach of this program, really wanted to bring that element back of what Milford likes to refer to as the jungle, their fan base here that was so rabid for all of those years as Milford basketball enjoyed successful season after successful season as Kosket can't make the free throw. We've certainly had that element back here tonight. 51-50, the Hawks lead it as we enter into the final minute of OT. Can this Milford defense hold up to the basket, the freshman? And Milford gets called for the foul. And they'll call it on Sutherland.
Well, Blakely missed both at his last trip to the line, so that's probably in the back of his mind.
Clean on the first attempt to tie the game, back up at 51. Now to give Taunton the lead back. 2 crucial makes for the freshman. Kelly and Kosket both going after that pass from Everett. Here's Kosket now, guarded very closely by the freshman Blakely. Vendrell in to help out. Now here's Falcon ball handling at midcourt. Falcon with the big shot for Milford moments ago. Here's Kosket, 10 seconds left on the shot clock, into Kelly, and Kelly will get fouled.
Stops the clock for Milford, but Kelly hasn't shot the ball particularly well. As a matter of fact, he's been relatively transparent on the court tonight. We haven't called his name or number much. Came up with a few key rebounds and blocks at the end of that fourth quarter, but other than that, really no scoring out of the big man tonight for Milford.
And meanwhile, I believe we may have seen the final foul of the night for Malik Charles. So both sides now losing key personnel here in overtime. Brendan White fouling out moments ago for the Scarlet Hawks, and now it will be Malik Charles who has to take a seat on the bench for these final 34.1 seconds. Taunton with a 52-51 lead as Caden Kelly will step to the free throw line. Kelly has just 5 points on the night, and he's gone 1 for 5 from the free throw line. 1 for 4 from the free throw line. Loops his first attempt in to tie the score back up at 52.
I think it's very kind of ironic. Players who always seem to struggle at the free throw line always seem to swish it when the game's on the line.
This one for the lead. And it bounces through. 53-52 Milford, down to the final 30 seconds of OT. Once again, it's Blakely trying to get around Cosquet, takes it all the way to the hoop, can't connect on the shot. Second chance effort, and somehow Lenz Esquivel getting that one through.
And it looks like right after, a little bit too aggressive by Esquivel, and he picks up the foul on Cosquet, trying to get a trap in the far corner.
Looked like when Esquivel went up for that shot, he was trying to draw a foul, just sort of tossing up a prayer, and it ended up landing. But committing the foul right after, so an opportunity here for Cosquet to tie it right back up. When this game has been on the line, Milford has found their form from the free throw line. Once again tied. And now a lead by 1 point for Milford. Heading down to the final 10 seconds, the freshman Blakely to the basket, no good. Everett pulls down the rebound. Here's DeMarco. He gets fouled, and he will go to the line with an even 8 seconds left on the clock.
Well, I like to see Coach Seaver and assistant coach Annabali over there on the sidelines calming his team down. Yes, Milford has the momentum. Yes, they're up by 1. Yes, they're going to the free throw line. But this game is still not out of reach for the Taunton Tigers yet. Still 8 seconds. We haven't seen DeMarco go to the line yet. For all we know, he could be struggling just like the rest of this Milford team. He could miss the first one, and Milford still only has a 1 point lead. And with the speed of Taunton, they can push the ball up the floor very quickly and maybe get a 2, and now Taunton has a 1 point lead. So this game isn't over yet. Again, these last 8 seconds could last 30 seconds or a minute. Or we all know how college basketball or high school basketball or the NBA can go. So good job by Coach Seaver and some of the assistant coaches to keep composure for this Milford team.
Milford made just 1 free throw through the first 3 quarters. They've gone 7 of 9 in the fourth quarter and overtime combined. Joey DeMarco, a captain on this team, hoping to push the lead. And converts his first attempt.
And that one is crucial because that gives Milford at least, if Taunton is able to get a 2, it's only going to be a tie game.
Milford has 4 of their 5 in the backcourt as DeMarco cannot make the second attempt, so it remains just a 2-point margin for the Scarlet Hawks. As the clock is now stopped at 6.7 seconds left, 56-54 Milford.
Taunton almost botched that timeout call. I would kind of compare that to when a wide receiver is running into the end zone and they drop the ball a little bit too soon before they cross the goal line. That was almost a situation right there for Taunton where they called timeout, but they dropped the ball almost simultaneously. Luckily, I think it was Law who had possession of the ball, called timeout before dropping the ball, but it was Joey DeMarco almost pouncing on that loose ball for Milford.
We have not seen a single fan leave this gymnasium despite quickly approaching 9 in the evening. This has been a long game after a long JV game between these two schools earlier this evening. The Taunton JV squad able to pull out a victory. A comeback effort falling short for the Scarlet Hawks JV team, but the varsity squad looking to put the finishing touches on what would be really a signature win here early on in the season if they can finish it off. It's just a 56-54 score as Taunton inbounds. They get it into the hands of Lou Vendrell. 4 seconds left. He pushes the tempo now, kicks it back outside. Less than a second left. Did they get the shot off in time? Irrelevant as it rims out, and the Scarlet Hawks celebrate at midcourt as they pull off an improbable comeback here in overtime, defeating the Taunton Tigers by a final score of 56-54, as now the student section will join the celebration. And Anthony, just an incredible victory here tonight. You talked about it towards the end of the fourth quarter. It was going to be a steal if Milford was able to seal this victory. Well, steal it they did.
Well, this Milford team struggled through most of the game. Early in that third quarter, Milford really had no shot of winning this ball game. There just seemed to be no hope for this Milford team. They were turning the ball over more than they were scoring it, and they couldn't score when they were able to get a good possession. So this Milford team, talk about perseverance and dedication and just gutting it out for the full, what ended up being more than 32 minutes. It ended up being 36 with the overtime period, but just a complete game from start to finish for Milford. Granted, it was sloppy. There are a lot of things that Coach Seaver and the Scarlet Hawks want to work on. I mean, hey, we were talking about, hey, where's Milford at halftime? They didn't come out of the locker room until almost a minute left on the clock before we went back into the second half. So this is a Milford team that they stole one here, honestly. They had no reason to win this game. They turned the ball over at will, and for Taunton, they played their hearts out, really, but it was just kind of an epic collapse on their end. For the amount of times they turned the ball over, they shouldn't have lost that game. Dante Law was terrific. The guards were terrific, but the Milford defense, we got to give them some credit too, because Taunton averages 68 points a game, and even with an overtime period, they didn't even reach that. So good job on the Milford defensive end. The offense needs some work. Taunton, they got to go back to the drawing board and figure out how can we avoid a comeback attempt by an opponent like this again.
Well, the ultimate gritty effort for the Scarlet Hawks results in their second victory of the season. They improve to 500 now at 2-2 overall, and they hand the Taunton Tigers just their first loss of the season. Taunton falls to 2-1. So Milford will relish in this victory. Their next game action will come up on December 30th, so this was actually quite a good win for Milford to build on, as they have a lengthy break here until they face Bishop Stang coming up on December 30th. So a couple of days in between games to enjoy this victory, but also a lot of work for this team to do. But nonetheless, Milford in overtime able to defeat Taunton by a final score of 56-54. An instant classic here in the Milford gym here tonight. I'm happy to have our Milford TV coverage on hand. A big thank you to our crew, our director Rob O'Keefe, and our camera operators Mike Sperling and Patrick Garapi. And for Anthony Mazzini, I am Tim Coette. That final score, one final time, Milford over Taunton in OT by a final score of 56-54. This has been a presentation of Milford High School Athletics here on Milford TV. So long, everybody.